Several years ago, there was a day I found myself crying in the bedroom of my new apartment. I felt like I had hit rock bottom. I was overweight, I was living in a place I hated, I felt like I was at a rather dead-end place in my job, and I still hadn't found the love that I was searching for. And to top it off, my new apartment was making my asthma act up. Really, it was a wake-up call. It was a shakedown by my guides, because we all need a good wake-up call sometimes. It was a moment of, why are you choosing this? What do you want? You need to start to reach for better. I could see that, and I did. I started to reach for more. I asked for signs to find a great new apartment, a new direction with my spiritual business, help with my self-love and self-care, and signs that love was on the way. And you know what? I got all of it. I felt guided to have a session with a recommended intuitive, and she gave me insights on all of it. She gave me the inspiration I needed for a new beginning. And then the signs started coming, like running into an old friend who told me there were apartments at her building and she loved it there. And guess what? They had the perfect apartment for me. So I'm not saying you have to run to the nearest intuitive, but it certainly helped me to gain some insights and inspiration. What I am saying, though, is that we hit rock bottom for a reason, and it's usually to get us back on path. It's to get us to wake up out of victim mentality and to reach for more, and to connect us back to ourselves and how we feel and what we want, as well as to deepen our relationship with the divine. So this is what we'll talk about today, moving forward and seeing the bigger picture. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the Alchemy of Manifestation podcast. I'm Jen Tammy at the Wheelhouse Project, and we are going to talk about how that sweet heart of yours is going to help you create the life of your dreams. There are times in our life when it feels like the bottom falls out, like we can't see the light anymore. I mean, can it get worse than this? Could I feel more pain than I'm feeling? Life can seem unbearable at times, but there's a reason. There's a reason for everything. So after crying it out or getting angry or whatever you need to do, you need to unearth the why. What is this teaching you? What is the lesson? Why is this happening? What do you need to change to get to a better place for yourself? This is the juice of life. This is what we came here to do, to learn, grow, and rise up from the ashes, to not get stuck there. We all came to experience some sort of hardship. While some of it can seem rather crazy, awful, and just plain horrible, believe it or not, it's what you signed up for. Experiences. It's not just horrible ones. You also came to rise, to grow as a soul, to rise out of the bad experiences and be true to your beautiful essence, to unearth the one who gets buried beneath the negative and the pain, to come back to God, to come back to your soul, and to excavate your beautiful heart from all the hurt so you can go on to live your best life. It's quite a journey, one that we can make very easy on ourselves, or one that we can fight against, kicking and screaming our way through our resistance, clinging to our victim mentality and our misery. It's a matter of waking up to it all, to having a spiritual awakening, really. It's a bit like seeing it all from a higher vantage point, from God's perspective, or from the perspective of your higher self. If you could create your best life, if you could take the eraser to your life and recreate it, what would you create? What would it look like and feel like? Where would you live? What would you wake up to every day? What would your day look like? How would you feel about life? Do you know that this is how you create your life? Or at least it's one of the most important elements. Because if you can't see beyond your misery, you won't move beyond it. You will stay stuck, and it will likely get more miserable. So let's talk about that. There are people who ask, why do bad things happen to good people? It's because those good people believe that only bad things happen to them. Simple. Not only that, but God is always showing you the exit. God is always giving you options, always showing you signs and giving you ideas on what to do next. You are the only one limiting yourself. But no worries, you won't be allowed to stay there. You will grow and move and get to the next general step in your life and a better place, even if you are resistant, though the journey isn't nearly as easy or as much fun. I have a few good examples of this. I have a friend who told me in the middle of last year that he was planning to move. He felt strongly pulled to go home to the Northwest in the US and was planning to do that. Months later, he told me he felt too stressed by everything going on in the world and felt overwhelmed by the idea of moving, so he wasn't going to do it. Well, just a few months after that, he ended up in the hospital having an emergency medical procedure. He ended up being hospitalized for over a month, and he was really sick. The outcome? He realized during all those hours alone in the hospital that he really missed his hometown and felt a deeper calling to go there. So do you see? He was guided to go, overthought it, and ignored the guidance and gut feelings. So God put him in a situation where he would have clarity and make the right decision for his life path. So as I was saying, you need to follow your guidance and stop your brain from messing you up, because somehow, some way, you will be redirected on the right route, and it may be quite the detour. I know I've had my own experiences this way as well. There was a time when I was being nudged to be less reclusive, to allow people into my life, which I vehemently resisted. I wanted to be in that feel sorry for myself place for a while. But nope, out running one day I broke my foot, and guess what? I needed help, and a lot of it. I had 3 dogs that all needed walking, so I was forced to set up a walk schedule and let people into my home every day. I had to ask for help. And I found myself in a place of gratefulness for having so many awesome people in my life. Yep, lovingly forced to accept what was needed on my path. There are lessons. There are things we need to do. There are places God needs us to go. There are people we need to meet or to be with. And you are guided on it, always. So watch for the signs. Feel those strong feelings in your gut and in your heart. Follow your intuition. Don't talk yourself out of things or get lost in old beliefs, unworthiness, or victim mentality, because you will be thrust out of that if you do. It's true, though. You will. Laid off from your job? Heartbroken in your relationship? Are you struggling financially? Or maybe just a huge and disruptive life event has happened. It's all waking you up. It's all shaking you down for a reason. You need to step back and figure out why. What do you need to learn? How do you need to grow? Where are you disrespecting yourself or falling into the past in an old pattern of unworthiness or old beliefs about what is possible for you? Or even believing that you are a victim and that God doesn't love you. You need to see things clearly. I can say one thing for certain. You did not come here to suffer. You came here to rise up from the suffering. You came here to remember that God loves you and that you can create anything you want. Sometimes I read these daily email messages from the universe by Michael Dooley, and one I saw the other day said that when you arrive in heaven, you will see that you could have created anything you wanted on earth, that all you had to do is remember that you had the power. And you will jump up and down and say, I want to go back. I'll remember this time. And off you go. So I'm just saying, you can do it, but you have to believe it. You have to want better for yourself, and you have to follow your guidance without the resistance, because you will be redirected, even if you don't want to be. So while you can always sit in your suffering for as long as you want, you will be pushed. And if you choose to believe that once again, it's all because you just have a sucky life and aren't worthy of more, you will misinterpret the nudging, and more nudging will be needed. How much is it going to take? When will you see? When will you remember that you are creating your life, that you are creating your own misery? Why wouldn't you reach for joy instead? Why wouldn't you choose to believe that you can have it all? Because you can, you know. Anything is possible if you believe it to be so. Where will you be 5 years from now? 10 years from now? How do you want your life to look? Why don't you start there? Figure out what you want to create for yourself in the long term, especially if you just can't see past the misery in front of your face. Start to look to the future. Start to dream a new dream. Start to believe that what you want is possible. And I'm not even saying to be realistic here. Realistic is a human word, not a divine word. A divine word would be magical, miraculous, blissful. I want you to think in those terms. What would that look like for you? What would bliss look like in your future? What would it feel like, too? Can you feel it? Close your eyes and go there frequently, because if you can feel it, you can draw it to you. Life was meant to be magical. Despite whatever you experienced in your childhood, you were meant to overcome it. You were meant to bring that child back out into your life in adulthood and live the life you came here to live, to feel all the amazing feelings that are well within our range of emotions. It's only the humans that lead you to believe differently. What if you chose to only listen to the divine, to your own intuition, heart, and gut feelings? What if you ignored the idea of being realistic? What if you threw out all your old limiting beliefs and came up with new ones that were almost fairy tale-like in their magic? And if you're laughing right now, you have a long way to go. But magic is possible. Magic isn't just possible. It's your birthright if you choose it. So what would magic look like for you? What is your fairy tale dream? I'm not trying to dangle a carrot here that you can never have. You can have it. No matter what your age or background or experiences so far, you can reach for it and have it. You will have to make some changes, and not just around your thinking. You will need to heal old wounds and beliefs, to love yourself more deeply with great self-care, to start to notice, listen to, and follow your divine guidance, and to work on manifesting it all with all the manifestation techniques available. It's a process, but it will all open your heart, which is the true magnet to draw everything good and, yes, even magical to you. Yesterday, someone dubbed me the love warrior, which I rather loved. I do see that love is the answer to everything. Loving ourselves deeply, loving God deeply, and loving our beautiful life into existence. Everything is love. Even the painful experiences you have and the healing journey you take to release it all, it's called tough love. But it's all meant to grow you, mostly in what I just talked about, loving yourself and God more deeply. Reaching for that and not going into victim mentality or denial. It's like the phoenix rising. That belief, that faith, that love in your heart for yourself and God will lift you out of your misery. Because if you can feel that and follow your heart, following your guidance, you will find your way to magic. For just a few minutes, though, let's go back to talking about how we are redirected, taught, and moved forward. Because I find it incredibly interesting to observe what is going on in people's lives and how they got there. But really, what is God trying to teach them or show them? I love to look at the bigger picture because so many people get lost in the weeds of victim mentality. So I want to talk about a couple I know, and let me tell you, I've seen this interesting dynamic played out in many couples. While it's not always the lesson in this scenario, I believe I'm seeing it correctly in this one. So the husband has always been very controlling, very jealous, very manipulative, and micromanaging of his wife's life, even to the point of having her retire early so she could spend more time with him, even though that's not what she wanted to do. She wanted to keep her job and do it for many more years, as she was passionate about her work and helping people. So several years into her retirement, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. I saw this clearly as a lesson. While mainly for him, for her, she was just checking out, handing in the towel and giving him total control. She gave up, but in a way that essentially will torture him for all of the controlling behavior. For him, he now has total control, but in a way that is turning out to be a bit of a nightmare. It's interesting to observe the situation from above, to see it for what it is teaching and how it is growing their souls. I believe that we need to observe everything in our lives this way, though. What is this teaching me? From the small lessons to the big ones, to the realizations that you are tolerating less and deserve more. Wake-up calls, missed guidance, or things that you ignored that show up in a new way. Things calling to you repeatedly and in bigger ways. What are you seeing? Notice things, because divine guidance isn't a once-in-a-while thing. It's constant, every day, all day. You aren't just coasting. Every experience is part of the lesson. Start to find it. Because when you do, you will move through the lessons faster and more easily and get into the magical life you so desire that much more quickly. I was told by my guides that rather than getting lost in the weeds and trying to control things, or even just going through the motions of life in a rather numb way, that I need to climb to the top of the ladder. then I need to surrender and observe from above, because life becomes pretty magic when you can see it from that perspective. When you allow God to drive and follow in faith. When you let go of thinking you know the right and best way and admit that you really don't remember how to get there. But God knows the way and will show you every day in every way. Listen, look, pay attention. Look up the spiritual meaning of the things that are being shown to you, maybe numbers, symbols, animals, signs, whatever it is. Listen to the lyrics of that song that are standing out to you, that feeling in your gut. What is it telling you? Is something making you miserable? What are you choosing and why? Look for signs. Move when you are guided to move. Consult intuitives. Work with healers. Get yourself on track on your divinely destined path. It's a magical journey we're on. When you can really release it all and see the lessons and move with the guidance you're getting, you will make your way to a better life. I don't care if that means a quiet little life in a lovely cottage alone or a busy life in a big mansion filled with family. You will find the way to your best life. Whatever will bring your heart the most joy, that is what you will find, because bliss looks different for everyone, and you will find your bliss. You will live your best life. So circling back, I wanted to remind you that while we are talking mainly about your relationship with God today and seeing the bigger picture of why you're here, what you're capable of creating, following God's guidance, and giving you some food for thought about all of it, you do need to align it all. You do need to work on your own healing, loving yourself, and great self-care. And of course, connecting with the divine on a deeper level, as we've talked about here. And as I've talked about a lot in other podcasts, there's also the need to use manifestation techniques to really draw things to you intentionally and reprogram your brain. And all of this has been covered to some extent in past podcasts. And of course, I will cover it more in future ones. So do stay tuned. For now, for today though, I wanted to wake you up to the lessons, to the fact that you need to move when you are guided, to make changes, to go where you're called to go, and to do what you are called to do. If you have no idea what that is, you need to become more self-aware. You need to pay attention to your feelings, your gut, your own intuition, and of course, become better at observing things around you, to notice the signs, the messages, and the guidance. You will get there. You just need to pay attention. To climb to the top of that ladder in your mind and observe. There will be aha moments if you do, I promise you. And you'll be so much more open to being guided, to surrendering to God. It's a journey, one that you eagerly signed up for. So make sure you don't miss a minute of it, because it leads to magic if you pay attention. Do yourself a favor and reach for the magic. Thanks for joining me on the podcast today. Please subscribe to the podcast and check out all of our other resources, videos, blogs, and more at thewheelhouseproject.com. Remember to sign up for our email list while you're there. And also check us out at The Wheelhouse Project on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest.